Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new airsoft Salient Blue replica slide made by Prime/Nova. So I know what you guys are thinking. I'm redoing this video because I missed out on some minor information that I got wrong initially, and I got the site installed incorrectly. So this time I'll show you a little bit more about the slide, and I'll let you in about how to do some of the work that I did here, because I know you guys have been messaging me since I released the first video which I got wrong. But anyways, so yeah. So first, let's go over some minor details. The slide retails for 850 Hong Kong dollars, and that roughly translates to 110 US dollars depending on where you buy them. And the availability of these things really depends on where you look. I buy these locally in Hong Kong, so I cannot advise you where to look online. If you look, maybe Boom Arms is a place that you can look at. And when you get this out of the package, it will have a set of custom sights. These sights are pretty cool. You also have an extractor that's unusually shiny, and a square fluted outer barrel that's very similar to the one that you see on the Prime Costa R Mark Lock, which sticks out a little bit like that, and I'm not a big fan of that, but that's apparently how Salient does it. Taking a closer look at the blue slide, you will notice that the coating and finishing is very consistent throughout the whole entire slide, and the markings are fairly deep as well. But you will notice that these markings over here do not appear to be as deep as the markings on the right side of the slide, and I believe this has to do with the font size. As you can tell, these words are bigger than the words over here. It's not a big complaint or anything like that, but it does look noticeably shallower, which might be a problem with some of you. It's honestly not enough for me to complain about. Moving forward, you'll notice that the slide has custom serrations at the front that are very good looking. They resemble the Salient Arms MMP serrations that has a very aggressive touch to them, especially when you move your fingers back like that. It gives you a very good purchase of the slide. It's also worth noting that these serrations are actually super sharp around the corners, because they extend around the radius cuts and then to the top of the slide, even all the way up to the front post fiber optic sight, which is quite interesting. But these serrations do not extend to the rear area, because the rear area just has a regular relief cut. And speaking of the rear, notice that these cuts on the radius cuts over here, between the rear and the front, are actually slightly different. Slightly more of an angle to them, which gives it a very good purchase over here. I believe this is for one-handed manipulations in the real steel world, much like how Agency Arms styles their battle plates for their slides, which for airsoft is honestly not a big deal, but I do like the extra attention to detail. And for the last thing I want to talk about is the slide profile. Notice that the left and right side has an incredibly large area that has been removed, and this extends all the way out to the middle point of the slide, which is quite interesting. And what this basically does is that it gives the slide a very slick and unique profile compared to other slides out in the market. As you can tell, it's actually noticeably thinner than other slides. That, coupled with the large window on the top, makes the front of the slide look much more appealing to me. It just gives it a very, very unique look, in my personal opinion. So yeah, that's pretty slick. As for the Philly bits, unfortunately, the extractor will show up as this little shiny, glossy little metal piece on the slide, which looks sort of awkward. I'm not entirely sure if real steel extractors are supposed to be this shiny. Oh, by the way, my trigger is also this shiny because this is a Ready Fighter trigger, a CNC Ready Fighter trigger, so that's the reason why it looks like that. I don't mind the trigger looking like that, but I really don't like the extractor being this shiny. It's like this is like sticking off the slide almost. Not a big deal, but you know, it's there. And next up, we got your custom sights. These sights are actually quite interesting. Notice that the rear arm sight is actually very, very chunky. This is the part where I actually installed wrong the first time I made this video. I actually had this iron sight flipped the other way around, because can you actually see the top over here? It has a bottleneck structure. I thought the wide area is for the rear, because frankly, it looks a little bit clearer when I have it the other way around. So, you know, but I'm building this for looks, so I flipped it around. So that's quite interesting. My mistake, by the way. Sorry. Thank you guys for pointing that out to me. And you'll notice that this rear iron sight has 2 grub screws. These 2 grub screws do not protrude into the slide whatsoever. It appears that you can take them out. So in my case, I actually blue thread lock them into the rear slide. You will also notice that the rear slide actually has these relief cuts and the Salient marking on top. So that's really, really cool. Very, very stylish. You'll also notice that it's actually serrated at the front and at the rear, So, you know, the rear is normal because that's like a normal competition sight, right? But for the front to be serrated as well, that's pretty neat. I think that's also for the one-handed manipulation, I think. That's really, really cool. This is probably the most stylish rear iron sight that I can think of, actually, besides the UAC adjustable one. That's pretty cool. Next up, we got the front fiber optic sight. It's just serrated at the front over here. And the fiber optic, you have to install yourself. And this sits at sort of at an angle. So that's a little weird for me. I've never noticed that the fiber optic sits in an angle like that. This fiber optic appears to show up very, very clear. So let me see if I can show this to you on camera. It appears to show, it shows up really, really clear when I look at it. Very unusual for me. I wonder if it's a special feature of the angling of the fiber optic. Let me know if you guys know, because I've never had a fiber optic like that sits at such a steep angle like that. I think that was pretty cool. So yeah, very, very interesting set of sights. They certainly look the part. So that's pretty much it for the video. There's virtually no fitment required because all the blow-back housing units that I have so far, they pretty much slip into here. I don't have a spare AKA or AIP blow-back housing unit, which are the widest blow-back housing units I have. I don't have those spares to test them on, so those are the only two blow-back housing units that I did not test. I also don't have an Angel Custom one because Angel Custom doesn't really exist in Hong Kong. It's more of a US thing in my personal opinion. I've never seen an Angel Custom product here in Hong Kong, ever. But anyways, just to let you know that all blow-back housing units fits, I used a SOCOM Gear Echo 1 Lone Wolf Timberwolf blow-back housing unit and installed it on this, and it literally slid into the slide. I did not push it in. It slid in. So that worked out perfectly. That basically means that the blow-back housing unit area, the tolerances are actually very generous. So fitment is certainly not an issue. Although I will say that you may have to watch your nozzle arch clearance, is because when the nozzle tries to come out, it might hit the nozzle arch area on the slide. So be wary that you may have to modify it a little bit. I have not modified it on mine. I do need to modify it. I have not done it yet. And in case if you don't understand why, if you have the nozzle arch a little bit too tight, it will basically hold your nozzle sometimes, and sometimes your nozzle can actually get stuck on it. Depending on how serious it is. I also did this exact same modification to my Prime Costa R Mars slide, which is the reason why you may notice that that actually moves okay. But generally speaking, these kits, the tolerances are rather loose, so generally speaking, that these kits can actually run at a decent speed. Speaking of tolerance, that's actually the one bad thing I have to talk about this kit. The tolerance of this kit is horrible. Can you actually see how much it moves? Like, the tolerance is really, really bad. The barrel lockup is okay. Like, I've seen worse. But, you know, the tolerance overall, like, it does make the slide rattle a little bit. I've had other slides that rattle even more. This is doable. I can still sort of fix this, but it's just a little bit odd and a little bit annoying. I wish Prime and Nova sort of worked on that a little bit. Their Nebula slides were also the exact same case. They also had a rather loose tolerance, especially when you run their slide over time, unless you upgrade your chassis, and it still runs loose on those chassis. So very, very annoying. That certainly means that I won't be skirmishing this, and I probably won't be shooting this for accuracy. But then again, this is built mainly for aesthetics, so I don't really mind it too much. But it does bother me a little bit. And just to let you know, by the way, if you're curious as to how to build something like this, if you're watching this video for the first time and you're not really into Glocks, or if you're not really into Salient, just to let you know, this frame is not a regular Glock frame. This is called a Timberwolf frame. In order to get this frame, you have to purchase this pistol. This is called a Echo 1 Lone Wolf Timberwolf pistol. And basically this pistol, I believe, is OEM'd by WE. Everyone tells me that it's OEM'd by WE, but it appears to have some stuff that's not exactly the same. Like, the nozzle in the magazine is clearly different. The nozzle route and the nozzle is clearly different. I'm not exactly sure why. But they do have features that are very similar to WE. For example, WEs have that threaded barrel adapter thing. They have that thing. The quality is very, very similar to WE, so I'm inclined to believe that's WE, even though some stuff appears to be off-spec. Oh, that was a bit of a tangent over there. Sorry, my bad. But anyways, yeah, this is the pistol that you need if you wish to build one of these. If you wish to buy the frame just by itself, I think you can get that in the US readily, because this pistol is actually distributed by a company called Jag Precision in the United States. I believe you can get the stuff more easily than I can in Hong Kong, believe it or not, even though it's not super difficult to get these in Hong Kong, but they are a little bit difficult to get because the demand for these things are actually fairly high, and these are worth more if you sell it overseas than it is selling it locally. So these things sort of dried up pretty quickly. Yeah. Anyways, I'll do a review on this separately another time. But these pistols are pretty bad, by the way. If you're buying these, just anticipate some work. In my case, I've already done some work already to this, so that's the reason why it's sort of running already. By the way, I just cocked my hammer spring not too long ago, just now actually. Anyways, that's pretty much all the stuff I want to talk about in terms of the technical stuff. Otherwise, not really much else to note, other than the stippling that I've done to it, which does need a little bit of work, I will admit. I have not done the salient marking on the side though. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, in the real steel one, they have this salient thing etched into the plastic. I'm not entirely sure how they did that, to tell the truth. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. If you guys actually know, please give me a tip, because I'm actually sort of stuck. And just to also let you know, if you wish to do this kind of stippling, that to copy salients, just to let you know, my style of stippling is my best attempt to copy salient. It's not actually the way they do the stippling. I think they use a different method. But just to show you, this is actually my stippling tool. Because many people have been messaging me on Facebook on how I do it, so I'm just going to show this once and for all. Anyways, I need a tissue. So, this is the stippling head that I use. It's a custom tool that you have to make yourself. In this case, I made one myself. This one, normally these things are made of aluminum. I made mine out of steel because it was cheaper to make out of steel. But that's basically what the tool looks like. I designed this to fit my stippling iron, which has a screw that basically holds it like that. So that's how I like to use it. And it conducts heat a little bit better. So that's the reason why I use it. The reason why it's soaking wet, by the way, is because you have to keep it in oil to prevent this from rusting. So that's how I personally do my stippling. And no, I do not sell these. At least, not anymore. Because I produced about 100 of these and I sold them all already. They were very, very expensive to produce because I made them out of steel and I had to find the pattern myself. Like, I designed this myself in the software. So that's how I did it. If you wanted the design, I no longer have it because I no longer use my PC anymore. I'm using a Mac. You may notice because I'm editing my videos on a Mac. Anyways, so that's pretty much it for the video. Overall, a very reasonably priced kit. A very good looking kit. I would say this is more for those people who just want a salient blue, like me. This is just pretty much a very sexy looking tactical weight. Yeah, that's why I use it for. I just use it to hold my paperweights. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. I also have a Facebook page that you can follow me on, in which I will leave a link in the description box below. Peace, guys. Happy shooting, and thanks for watching.